pause for a moment. Really pause. Close your eyes if you can. How many weeks do you think you have left? The average human life spans roughly 4,000 weeks. 4,000. Let that number settle in your chest. Not 4,000 years. Not even 400. Just 4,000 ordinary weeks. Many of them already spent. You've probably felt it before, haven't you? That quiet jolt when you realize another year has slipped away. You were going to get fit, deepen that relationship, finally write the book, master the skill, build the business, see the world. And yet, the weeks keep vanishing like sand through your fingers. In the long run, we're all dead. The old quip from Keynes carries a sharper truth than we like to admit. Time is not a renewable resource. It is the ultimate limited one. And facing that limit is where real life begins. You live in a world that whispers the opposite. Hustle culture scrolls past on your phone at 2 a.m., promising that with the right morning routine, the perfect productivity app, or the latest life hack, you can finally get on top of it all. You download another to-do list manager. You block your calendar in meticulous colors. You listen to podcasts about crushing it while commuting, while cooking, while supposedly relaxing. The message is relentless. Optimize harder. Do more. Be more. Become the godlike planner who bends time to your will. But here's the gentle, somewhat uncomfortable truth. That approach doesn't work. It can't. Traditional time management treats your life as if it were infinite, and you as if you were a flawless executive with unlimited bandwidth. It sells the illusion of control. Fill every slot, squeeze out every inefficiency, say yes to everything that glitters with potential. The result? A quiet, creeping exhaustion. You become a connoisseur of busyness rather than a participant in meaning. You chase the feeling of productivity instead of the experience of a life well lived. I remember a season in my own life, perhaps you've had one like it, when I was drowning in open tabs, unread books, ambitious goals, and an ever-growing list of shoulds. I had systems. I had trackers. I had vision boards. And still, at the end of many days, I felt strangely hollow. The weeks were passing, and the things that truly mattered, quiet evenings with loved ones, slow walks without a podcast dictating my thoughts, the courage to say no, so I could say a deeper yes, kept getting postponed. I was managing time as if I were immortal. I was missing the fact that I am not. Look around. Social media feeds us carefully curated highlights of people who seem to have cracked the code. They run marathons before breakfast, launch startups before lunch, and meditate under exotic sunsets before dinner. Meanwhile, you're comparing your unedited, behind-the-scenes reality to their greatest hits reel. The contrast stings. It breeds anxiety, not inspiration. Because deep down you know the truth. No one is actually doing it all. They're just showing you the parts that fit the story. What if the path to peace isn't about doing more, but about accepting less? What if freedom arrives the moment you stop pretending you can be everything to everyone, everywhere, all at once? This is the quiet revolution at the heart of these pages. True time management for mortals isn't about hacking your way to godhood. It's about embracing your finitude with open arms. It's about choosing, with eyes wide open, what you will give your precious weeks to, and what you will, with love and clarity, let go. Imagine for a moment a gardener who accepts that her plot of land is small. She doesn't rage against the fence lines, or try to grow every plant known to humanity in that limited space. Instead, she chooses a few flowers and vegetables that truly delight her. She tends them with care. She learns their seasons. She delights in their growth and accepts their eventual fading. The garden becomes beautiful precisely because it is bounded. Your life works the same way. Your weeks are the soil. Your choices are the seeds. Limitation is not the enemy. It is the very condition that makes depth, beauty, and meaning possible. You might be wondering, doesn't accepting limits feel defeatist? Doesn't it lead to resignation? Quite the opposite. When you stop trying to live an infinite life, you become free to live this one, the only one you've got, more fully. You trade the exhausting pursuit of someday for the quiet power of today. You discover that saying no to the non-essential creates spaciousness for the essential. Relationships deepen when you're fully present, instead of half distracted by what's next. Work gains dignity when you pour yourself into what you can realistically do, rather than berating yourself for what you can't. Even rest becomes nourishing instead of guilty. There's a story I love about a wise teacher who was asked how he stayed so calm amid constant demands. He smiled and replied, "I don't try to drink the ocean. I take one cup at a time, and I savor it." That's the shift we're inviting here. One cup, 1 week, one meaningful choice. Over the chapters ahead, we'll walk this path together. We'll look honestly at the ways we distract ourselves from mortality. We'll examine the subtle tyrannies of the to-do list and the calendar. We'll explore how to make peace with unfinished tasks, how to choose what counts, how to embrace patience in a world addicted to speed, and how to find profound satisfaction in a life that will never be perfectly optimized. You won't emerge from this journey with a flawless system that guarantees you'll achieve everything you once dreamed. You'll emerge with something better, a kinder, wiser, more grounded relationship with the time you actually have. A sense of liberation that comes from finally aligning your days with your deepest values, instead of with an impossible ideal. So breathe with me now. Feel the weight of those 4,000 weeks, not as a burden, but as a precious inheritance. Some have already been spent. Many still lie ahead, shimmering with possibility, precisely because they are numbered. You don't need to fill them all. You only need to live them well. The weeks are passing, yes, but right here, in this moment, you get to decide how. And that decision, my friend, is where your real life begins. Chapter 1: The Limit Embracing Life. You see, the real trouble isn't that your time is limited. The real trouble is how fiercely you resist that limit. You fight it. You bargain with it. You build elaborate systems designed to outrun it. And in the quiet moments, when the resistance wears thin, you feel the exhaustion of pretending you can somehow do it all. Think about a typical Tuesday. You wake up already behind. The inbox is full. The calendar is double booked. Your partner wants more presence. Your boss wants more output. Your friends want more connection. And that quiet dream you've carried for years, like learning an instrument, writing those pages, training for the race, waits patiently on the shelf. The conventional voice in your head says, optimize harder, wake earlier, multitask better, say yes more strategically, download another app, follow another guru, squeeze one more task into the cracks of your day. But what if that voice is leading you astray? What if the path to a meaningful life isn't through conquering your limits, but through embracing them fully? This is the shift we explore together in this chapter. The move from a productivity mindset that treats time as an enemy to be defeated to a limit-embracing life that treats finitude as a wise and generous friend. Consider the contrast. The conventional approach promises mastery. It tells you that with enough discipline, the right tools, and sufficient hustle, you can attend every networking event, answer every email promptly, keep every relationship vibrant, pursue every interest, and still have energy left for deep rest. It's a beautiful fantasy. And it is, of course, a fantasy. Because every yes carries a hidden no. Every hour spent on one thing is an hour forever unavailable for something else. This is opportunity cost, not as an abstract economic idea, but as the quiet heartbeat of your mortal life. You feel it in small ways every day. You scroll through social media and see a friend's weekend hiking trip, another colleague's promotion announcement, a neighbor's perfect garden, and that creative acquaintance who just shipped another project. Each image whispers, you could be doing that too. And in trying to chase even a fraction of them, you scatter yourself. You become the person who is everywhere a little and nowhere deeply. The weeks pass, and the feeling of I'm missing out only grows louder, ironically, because you're trying so hard not to miss out on anything. Now, imagine a different way. Picture a life where you consciously, lovingly, choose to miss out on most things. Not because you're lazy or defeated, but because you are awake. You understand that depth requires sacrifice. Meaning requires boundaries. The very act of choosing what you will pour your finite weeks into is what gives those choices their power. I remember speaking with a successful novelist once. She had published several acclaimed books, yet, when I asked about her routine, she laughed softly. People think I must be some productivity machine, she said. But the truth is simpler. I say no to almost everything. No to most invitations. No to trending topics. No to side projects that aren't aligned. That deliberate neglect is what lets me sink into the writing for hours at a time. The books only exist because I'm willing to let so much else go. Her words stayed with me. Deliberate neglect. There's a quiet joy in it, once you allow yourself to feel it. It's not rejection of life. It's reverence for the parts you've chosen. It's the difference between skimming the surface of 1,000 ponds and diving deep into one clear lake. You see this truth play out in relationships too. Think of the parent who tries to be everything for their children: chauffeur, entertainer, educator, emotional rock, career role model, all while maintaining their own ambitions. The pressure is immense. But the parents I admire most are the ones who have made peace with limits. They might not attend every school event or craft every homemade Halloween costume. Instead, they protect certain sacred hours, like unhurried dinners, silly bedtime stories, genuine listening without checking their phones. They accept they will miss some opportunities, and in that acceptance, they show up more fully for the ones that remain. Their children don't remember a perfectly optimized schedule. They remember presence. Or consider the workplace. You've probably watched colleagues burn out, chasing the illusion of total responsiveness. They answer emails at all hours. They volunteer for every committee. They say yes to projects that dilute their focus. The result? Mediocre work across many areas, instead of excellence in a few. The limit-embracing colleague, by contrast, has the courage to define their contribution more narrowly. They might excel at strategic thinking, but gracefully decline constant administrative tasks. They protect deep work blocks like sacred ground. Over time, their focused impact becomes undeniable. They don't do more. They do what matters more deeply. History offers its own gentle witnesses. Think of the composer who ignored the demands of popular taste and followed a singular musical vision, or the scientist who spent decades on one seemingly obscure problem missing countless trends and opportunities, only to unlock a breakthrough that changed everything. Their greatness wasn't born from doing it all. It emerged precisely because they embraced what they would not do. So how do you begin this shift in your own life? Start with a simple, powerful reframe. Instead of asking, "How can I fit everything in?" ask, "What few things am I willing to give my weeks to, knowing everything else must wait or fall away?" Feel the emotional difference. The first question breeds anxiety and overwhelm. The second invites clarity and relief. Try this small exercise with me right now. If you're in a place where you can, take a breath. Bring to mind the coming week. Instead of listing everything you hope to accomplish, name just 3 things that would make the week feel meaningful if they received your focused attention. Not urgent tasks, meaningful ones. Perhaps a conversation with your partner without distractions. Perhaps progress on a project that lights you up. Perhaps simply protecting time to rest without guilt. Write them down if you can. Then gently ask, what am I willing to let go of to make space for these? You might feel resistance arise. That's natural. The fantasy of doing it all is seductive because it protects you from the vulnerability of choosing. Choosing means confronting your finitude. Choosing means accepting that some good things, wonderful things, will not happen in your life, at least not in the way or timing you once imagined. But on the other side of that acceptance waits a deeper satisfaction. When you stop scattering your energy, life begins to feel richer, not narrower. The productivity industry thrives on selling you the next system that will finally solve the problem of your humanity. Yet, the wisest voices throughout time have pointed in the opposite direction. The ancient philosophers knew it. The great artists lived it. Your own quiet intuition already senses it. You are not a machine to be optimized. You are a mortal being, here for a short and astonishing season. Your limits are not flaws in the design. They are the design. Embracing limits doesn't mean lowering your ambitions. It means directing them wisely. It doesn't mean you stop growing. It means you grow in the places you've chosen, with patience and presence. The weeks you spend this way compound differently. They feel fuller. They leave less regret. Imagine waking up to a day where your to-do list is shorter, but your attention is longer. Where you move through your hours with a soft confidence, knowing you've already said the necessary no's. Where you experience the joy of deliberate neglect, not as deprivation, but as devotion. Devotion to the relationships that matter. Devotion to the work that calls you. Devotion to the quiet wonder of simply being alive. This is the limit-embracing life. It asks more courage of you, yes. The courage to disappoint others sometimes. The courage to disappoint yourself and your younger fantasies. But it gives back something far more precious. A life that feels like your own, lived on purpose, within the beautiful bounds of your humanity. You don't need to have it all figured out today. Just begin noticing. Notice when the old productivity voice rises up, promising control. Notice when you feel the squeeze of trying to do too much. In those moments, pause, breathe, remember the 4,000 weeks, and choose, even in small ways, to embrace the limit rather than fight it. Chapter 2: The Efficiency Trap. You know this feeling all too well, don't you? That quiet satisfaction of finally clearing your inbox, ticking off the last item on your to-do list, or powering through a backlog of errands, only to glance up moments later and discover the pile has already begun reforming itself. Like a conveyor belt that never stops. Emails arrive faster than you can reply. New requests land before you've celebrated finishing the old ones. The more efficient you become, the busier you feel. This is the efficiency trap, and it is one of the sneakiest thieves of your 4,000 weeks. Picture it. You adopt a new productivity system. You batch your emails, use clever shortcuts, wake up earlier, eliminate distractions. For a brief, shining window, you feel on top of things. The decks are clear. Then reality flows back in. Because the world doesn't slow down to match your increased speed. Your boss notices your reliability and hands you more responsibility. Colleagues see your quick responses and loop you into more threads. Friends sense your availability and schedule more catch-ups. Even your own ambitions expand to fill the newly created space. The hamster wheel spins faster. You run harder, yet the finish line keeps moving. Why does this happen? Because efficiency treats the symptom or overwhelm without addressing the deeper cause, your resistance to finitude. You secretly hope that if you just get good enough at managing time, you'll finally reach the promised land where everything important gets done and peace descends. But that land doesn't exist for mortals. The input side of life is essentially infinite. The output side, that is, your hours, your energy, your attention, is strictly finite. No amount of optimization changes that equation. You see it everywhere. At work, the diligent colleague who masters every productivity hack soon finds their plate overflowing. They process emails like a machine, only for the volume to increase. They finish projects ahead of schedule, and more projects appear. Capitalism and modern technology supercharge this dynamic. Your smartphone pings with possibilities at all hours. Social media showcases everyone else's seemingly optimized lives, fueling comparison and the quiet fear that you're falling behind. The cultural message is clear: busyness equals importance. Rest equals laziness. So you push, you optimize, you strive, and you end up spending more and more of your precious weeks on the least meaningful things. I recall a time in my own life when I fell hard into this trap. I had streamlined my mornings, automated parts of my workflow, even learned keyboard shortcuts that saved mere seconds. On paper, I was crushing it. In reality, I felt more frantic than ever. Evenings that could have been spent reading to my children or walking in silence with my partner were instead swallowed by just one more task. The efficiency made me available for more input, not more life. Have you noticed something similar? That strange irony where getting faster at handling the urgent leaves less room for the important? Consider family life. You become the parent who efficiently packs lunches, coordinates schedules, and shuttles kids to activities with military precision. You feel productive. Yet, the deeper conversations, the unhurried play, the quiet moments of connection get squeezed out. Or think about personal habits. You optimize your workouts, your meal prep, your learning playlists, only to realize you're rushing through experiences that were meant to nourish your soul. The very pursuit of getting more done prevents you from fully inhabiting what you do. This trap has psychological roots too. It promises control. It whispers that if you just clear the decks perfectly this time, anxiety will vanish, and you'll finally turn to the things that matter: creative projects, meaningful relationships, presence with the mystery of being alive. But the decks never stay clear, and the anxiety doesn't vanish. It mutates into a deeper restlessness. You begin to measure your worth by how much you accomplish, rather than how deeply you experience. The worst part? Efficiency doesn't just increase quantity. It often degrades quality. When you're racing to fit everything in, you skim the surface of tasks. You reply to messages with half attention. You spend time with loved ones while mentally planning tomorrow's list. You move through your days like a ghost, efficient in motion, but absent in spirit. Contrast this with the slower, more deliberate pace you sense is possible, the one where you linger over a meal with a friend, lose yourself in creative flow, or simply sit with your thoughts without reaching for your phone. So what is the way out? Not by becoming even more efficient. That only tightens the trap, but by accepting that you will never fully catch up. You will never get it all done. There will always be more to do, more to read, more to see, more responsibilities calling your name. And that is not a personal failure. It is the human condition. Let that sink in. Breathe with it. You don't need to reach the mythical shore where everything is handled before you allow yourself to live. You can begin living right now, in the midst of the unfinished. The next time you feel that familiar surge of overwhelm, when the list feels endless, pause. Place a hand on your chest. Remind yourself, I have finite weeks. I cannot do it all, and that is okay. Then ask, of all these demands, what matters most right now? What would make today feel meaningful? Choose one or two things. Pour your attention there. Let the rest exist without your immediate rescue. You may feel anxiety rise. That's normal. Stay with it. This willingness to feel overwhelmed without immediately trying to fix it through more doing is the anti-skill that begins to dissolve the trap. You'll notice something beautiful emerge. When you stop racing, time starts to feel different. Not longer, perhaps, but richer. A conversation with your partner becomes a real meeting of hearts, instead of another item checked off. Work gains depth when you give it focused presence, rather than frantic multitasking. Even mundane moments, like an afternoon walk, a quiet cup of tea, recover their quiet dignity. The productivity gurus keep selling you tools to solve a problem that their tools help create. The more you optimize, the more the system demands. It's like trying to bail out a boat with a hole in the bottom by rowing faster. At some point, you have to acknowledge the hole. The cultural currents, such as capitalism's endless growth imperative, technology's infinite notifications, social media's highlight reels, push you toward this trap. But you can choose a different orientation. You can value presence over pace, quality over quantity, depth over breadth. You can decide that a life well lived is not measured by how much you accomplished, but by how fully you inhabited your weeks. This doesn't mean abandoning all ambition or letting chaos reign. It means holding your efforts more lightly. It means trusting that by focusing on what truly counts, even if it means disappointing some expectations, your own included, you create space for what is most alive. Chapter 3: Facing Finitude. There comes a moment in every life when the truth of your mortality stops being an abstract idea and starts feeling like the ground beneath your feet. Not in a dramatic crisis necessarily, but in the ordinary hush between tasks. You sense it. This life, with all its ordinary Tuesdays and unspoken dreams, is not a rehearsal. It is the one and only performance. And facing that reality, not as a distant endpoint, but as the very texture of your days, can transform everything. The philosopher Martin Heidegger understood this deeply. He spoke of being towards death, not a morbid obsession with the grave, but a clear-eyed acknowledgement that you are finite through and through. You don't merely have a limited number of weeks. In a profound sense, you are those weeks. Time is not some external container you fill. You are the passing of it. To live authentically, Heidegger suggested, is to stop fleeing from this truth and start living in an honest relationship with it. Most of us, he observed, exist in a kind of comfortable denial, distracted by the daily churn, lost in what he called the they-self, the anonymous voice of society that keeps us busy comparing, acquiring, and postponing. You see this denial all around you in modern life. Society works hard to shield you from finitude. Endless entertainment streams, productivity tools promising mastery, advertisements selling eternal youth and limitless potential. The cultural air you breathe whispers that death is for later, that there will always be more time to become the person you meant to be. But this denial carries a heavy cost. It breeds a low-grade anxiety that hums beneath the surface. It fuels distraction, another scroll, another episode, another minor goal to quiet the deeper restlessness. And over time, it leaves a quiet emptiness. You chase achievements, status, or busyness, only to wonder why fulfillment keeps slipping away. Have you felt that hollowness? The sense that even when things are going well, something essential remains unaddressed. That is the quiet cry of a soul avoiding its own finitude. Contrast this with the stories of those who have been forced to face it directly. I think of the friend who received a serious diagnosis in his early 40s. Suddenly, the weeks took on a crystalline clarity. The endless meetings that once seemed urgent lost their grip. He began saying no without apology. He prioritized long, unhurried conversations with his children. He took the trip he had always postponed. The fear was real, yes, but so was the liberation. For the first time, he felt truly alive, choosing deliberately, loving more openly, wasting less time on pretense. Many who have walked through illness or loss describe this same bittersweet gift, a shedding of the trivial and a return to what is real. Or consider the parent who lost a loved one unexpectedly. In the rawness of grief, priorities reordered themselves. The petty workplace grudges faded. The need to prove anything dissolved. What remained was presence, with family, with quiet mornings, with the fragile beauty of ordinary days. These experiences reveal a profound truth. Confronting finitude does not crush you. Rather, it strips away illusion and reveals the life that was waiting underneath. So, how do you begin facing finitude, not just in crisis, but in the gentle rhythm of daily life? You start small. You cultivate practices that keep the truth close, like a wise companion, rather than a frightening intruder. One ancient and powerful practice is memento mori, remember that you must die, not as a source of dread, but as a gentle wake-up call. The Stoics kept skulls on their desks or carried reminders with them. You don't need anything so dramatic. Perhaps you place a small object on your desk, a smooth stone, or a simple note that quietly says, "This day is a gift. Use it well." Or each morning, before the rush begins, you pause for a minute and reflect. I may not have tomorrow. What matters most today? Try it with me now. Take a slow breath. Imagine your life as a finite book with a certain number of pages already turned. Feel the tenderness of that. Now, ask yourself softly, if I knew this week might be among my last, how would I move through it? What would I protect? What would I release? Let the answers rise without judgment. There is no need to overhaul everything at once. Just notice. This simple reflection shifts you from autopilot to awareness. It softens the grip of trivial worries and sharpens your sense of what is precious. You can weave this awareness into everyday moments. When you feel the pull of distraction, such as the urge to check your phone during dinner with your partner, pause and remember, these minutes are not infinite. This conversation, this shared laughter, this ordinary evening is irreplaceable. In the workplace, when another urgent demand arises, you ask, does this align with the finite life I want to live? Or am I defaulting to the they self, the endless expectations of others? Accepting impermanence becomes part of the practice too. Everything changes. Relationships evolve. Bodies age. Projects conclude or shift. The seasons of your life turn, whether you cling or not. Fighting this truth creates suffering. Embracing it brings grace. You learn to hold your plans lightly. You savor the present because you know it will pass. You invest more deeply in love, in creativity, in kindness, knowing these are what echo beyond your individual weeks. Facing finitude does not mean living in constant gloom. Quite the opposite. It frees you to experience the brute wonder of existence. The fact that anything exists at all, that you are here, breathing, capable of love and laughter and quiet insight, is astonishing. When you stop taking your time for granted, the world regains its color. A simple walk outside becomes a miracle of light and breath. A heartfelt talk with a friend feels like the sacred thing it is. You might worry that this awareness will make you anxious or paralyzed. Yet, the opposite often happens. People who truly face their limits report less fear, not more. They make bolder choices because the cost of inaction becomes clear. They forgive more readily. They take risks in service of what matters. They find peace in the midst of uncertainty because they have stopped pretending they can control the uncontrollable. Think of it like a sailor who finally accepts the vastness and unpredictability of the ocean. Instead of raging against the waves or clinging desperately to the shore, he trims his sails, reads the currents, and moves with skillful presence. His journey becomes more alive, more attuned, precisely because he has acknowledged the sea's power. Your finitude is that ocean. Facing it allows you to sail beautifully within it. In your relationships, this practice deepens everything. You stop postponing the important conversations. You become more generous with your attention. You realize that the people you love are also finite, and that knowledge makes tenderness more natural. In your work, it brings focus. You contribute what only you can, without the exhausting pressure to do it all. Even in moments of boredom or difficulty, you touch a deeper patience. This is it. This ordinary, imperfect moment is the stuff of your one wild and precious life. There will be days when the truth feels heavy. That is human. On those days, offer yourself compassion. Return to the breath. Remember that the very act of facing finitude is an act of love. Love for the life you have been given. Love for the moments still unfolding. As you walk this path, you may notice a quiet joy emerging, a sense of liberation. The weeks don't multiply, but they begin to feel sufficient, rich, enough. You move from a life of constant becoming, always preparing for some future version of yourself, to a life of being, here, now, choosing, in each finite hour, what deserves your irreplaceable attention. Chapter 4: Becoming a Better Procrastinator. Yes, you read that right. A better procrastinator. Not the kind who scrolls endlessly or avoids what matters. The kind who chooses, with open eyes and a steady heart, what to set aside, so that what truly counts can receive your finite attention. Because here is the liberating truth. At any given moment, you are always procrastinating on almost everything. Think about it. While you listen to these words, you are putting off answering emails, exercising, calling your parents, cleaning the garage, learning that language, advancing that side project, and 1,000 other worthy possibilities. You cannot escape procrastination. You can only choose it more wisely. This is strategic procrastination, and mastering it may be one of the kindest, most powerful things you ever do for your 4,000 weeks. The conventional productivity voice hates this idea. It tells you to fight procrastination at every turn. Clear the decks. Stay on top of everything. Never leave a task undone. But that voice forgets your mortality. It pretends your time is infinite and your capacity boundless. The result? Guilt, overwhelm, a background hum of anxiety that whispers you are always behind, always failing, always one optimized morning routine away from finally being enough. You feel it, don't you? That quiet shame when the unfinished tasks pile up. The mental tab of shoulds that follows you into dinner with your family or a walk in the park. The way perfectionism sneaks in, demanding that you somehow address everything before you can rest or create or simply be. But what if that shame is misplaced? What if the real failure is not in leaving things undone, but in refusing to choose what to leave undone? Consider the creative soul who changes the world. The novelist who writes a masterpiece does so by procrastinating brilliantly on almost everything else: social obligations, trending topics, even household chores on deadline days. Beethoven, it's said, neglected many practical matters while lost in composition. Marie Curie pursued her groundbreaking research while much of daily life waited. They weren't lazy. They were selective. They understood that depth demands deliberate neglect of the non-essential. You see this in everyday life too. The dedicated parent who builds a rich, present relationship with their children often procrastinates on answering every work Slack message after hours. They choose bedtime stories over perfect responsiveness. The entrepreneur who brings something truly valuable into the world learns to say no to tempting opportunities that would dilute their focus. They let certain emails age gracefully in the inbox. They protect their deep work like a fragile flame in the wind. Contrast this with the scattered approach. You try to stay on top of everything. You answer quickly, volunteer often, keep all plates spinning. The result? Shallow progress on many fronts, and exhaustion on all of them. You become a master juggler, but the balls you're juggling are not the ones your heart most wants to hold. So, how do you become this better kind of procrastinator? It begins with a gentle but firm mindset shift. Each morning, or the night before, identify your most important thing. Just one, not three, not five. One thing that, if you gave it focused attention, would make the day feel meaningful. It might be a key work project. It might be undistracted time with your partner. It might be rest, if that is what your soul needs. Name it clearly. Then, with kindness, decide what you will strategically procrastinate on, so that this one thing can happen. When the inevitable requests and distractions arrive, you practice graceful boundaries such as, "I'm focusing on this right now. Can we revisit later?" Or the simple, powerful word, "No," not harsh, not defensive, just honest. "No, I won't be able to take that on this week." You are not rejecting the person. You are honoring your finitude and the choices it requires. You may worry about perfectionism here. It loves to whisper that if you can't do something perfectly or completely, you shouldn't start, or that you must finish every begun task before moving on. Let that voice go. Perfectionism is just another form of resistance to limits. It keeps you small, safe, and perpetually disappointed. Instead, embrace good enough. Ship the imperfect project. Have the messy conversation. Take the imperfect step. Your weeks are too precious to wait for ideal conditions that never arrive. In the workplace, this approach becomes a quiet superpower. You focus on high-impact contributions and let lesser tasks wait or delegate. Colleagues may initially push back, but over time they respect the clarity and quality you bring. In family life, you protect sacred time, perhaps Sunday mornings without screens, and allow the laundry or yard work to wait. The relationships deepen precisely because you are not fragmenting yourself, trying to be everywhere. The productivity apps promise to help you never procrastinate again. Yet, they mostly help you procrastinate on life itself by turning you into a diligent maintainer of lists. You, on the other hand, are choosing to procrastinate on the trivial so you can show up for the meaningful. That is wisdom, not laziness. Reframing unfinished tasks helps dissolve the guilt. View them not as personal failures, but as evidence of a life with priorities. The backlog is the shadow side of having chosen something better. When guilt arises, pause and speak to yourself with the same warmth you'd offer a dear friend. I am finite. I am choosing. Some things will wait, and that is the cost of a life with heart. Then return gently to your most important thing. Over time, this practice builds trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in the unfolding of your days. Trust that the important things will find their moments when you protect space for them. You stop living as a slave to the urgent and start living as a steward of the meaningful. Of course, balance matters. Strategic procrastination is not an excuse for chronic avoidance of hard, but necessary things. It is a deliberate art. You still pay your bills. You still meet core responsibilities. But you do so within the honest frame of your limits, not the fantasy of endless capacity. Imagine waking up to a day where your attention feels spacious rather than scattered, where you move through your hours, knowing you have already said the necessary no's, where guilt no longer shadows your joy, because you understand that a full life is, by definition, a life full of undone things. That is the gift waiting for you. Chapter 5: The Watermelon Problem and the Intimate Interrupter. Imagine for a moment trying to stuff an entire watermelon into a small glass jar. You push, you squeeze, juice runs everywhere, pieces break off. No matter how cleverly you slice or cram, the whole thing simply will not fit. That, my friend, is the watermelon problem of your attention. Your finite weeks can only hold so much. Yet, modern life keeps handing you more information, more demands, more possibilities, until the jar cracks under the pressure. You cannot be everywhere. You cannot attend to everything. And the sooner you make peace with that truth, the freer you become to truly inhabit what remains. Your attention is the most precious resource you possess. It is the very fabric of your lived experience. Where it goes, your life goes. Yet, in the attention economy we all navigate, it is under constant siege. Notifications ping like impatient children. Social media scrolls promise connection, but deliver comparison and craving. Emails multiply like rabbits in the inbox. The world has never been more skilled at interrupting you, and you in turn have never been more practiced at interrupting yourself. This is the intimate interrupter, that quiet voice inside, trained by years of digital habits, that reaches for the phone during a conversation, that opens another tab while trying to focus, that drifts into planning tomorrow while your child tells you about their day. It feels so normal now, but pay close attention and you'll notice the cost. Deep work becomes shallow busyness. Relationships lose their depth. Joy grows thinner, more fleeting. You know this pattern well. You sit down to write an important report or prepare for a meaningful conversation, and within minutes, the mind wanders. A quick check of messages turns into 20. You tell yourself it will only take a second, but those seconds add up to weeks. Weeks of half presence, half listening, half living. The contrast is stark. On one side, the scattered life, frantic, reactive, strangely empty, despite all the input. On the other, the gathered life, slower in pace, richer in texture, where attention flows like a deep river rather than 1,000 trickling streams. Think of the parent at the playground, phone in hand, nodding absently, while their child calls out, "Watch me." The partner who listens to their loved one's struggles while mentally composing a reply to a work email. The creative soul who dreams of writing or painting, but spends the best hours of the day consuming instead of creating. These are not moral failures. They are symptoms of a culture that profits from fragmenting you, and of the very human tendency to seek distraction from the vulnerability of finitude. The watermelon problem shows up everywhere. You try to keep up with global news, stay connected with dozens of friends, excel at work, nurture family, pursue hobbies, maintain health, and still find time for rest. The jar overflows, juice everywhere, and in trying to fit it all, you taste almost nothing fully. Multitasking, once sold as a superpower, reveals itself as a thief. Research and your own experience confirm it. The mind doesn't actually multitask. It rapidly switches, losing focus and energy with every jump. The result is a life lived in fragments. Yet, here is the hopeful turn. You can protect your attention. You can cultivate presence. You can make peace with partiality, the gentle acceptance that you will always miss most things, so you can truly meet a few. Begin with awareness. Notice the intimate interrupter at work. The next time you feel the urge to reach for your device during a meal or conversation, pause. Place your hands on the table. Take one full breath. Ask yourself softly, "Am I here right now?" This tiny act of noticing creates a crack of choice. Over time, it grows into freedom. Practical boundaries become your allies. Consider creating sacred spaces and times where attention is protected. Perhaps the dinner table becomes a no-phone zone. Perhaps the first hour of your workday belongs only to your most important thing, with notifications silenced. Many who have reclaimed their attention speak of the dawn ritual, protecting the early morning for deep work or quiet reflection before the world makes its claims. It is not about perfection. It is about deliberate choice. I recall a writer friend who struggled for years with fractured focus. Social media, research rabbit holes, and the pressure to stay visible kept pulling him away from the page. One day, he made a radical, yet simple decision. He began writing in a plain text document, on a device with no internet access. No tabs, no alerts, just the words and the quiet. The first weeks felt uncomfortable. The intimate interrupter screamed for stimulation. But gradually, something shifted. Sentences flowed deeper. Ideas had room to breathe. His work gained a richness it never had before. And interestingly, his relationships improved too, because when he was with people, he was more fully with them. You can do something similar. Experiment with small acts of reclamation. During conversations, practice putting your phone in another room. When walking, leave the earbuds behind and let your senses meet the world directly. These are not grand gestures. They are quiet revolutions that return your life to you. Timeless wisdom supports this path. Ancient philosophers and spiritual traditions have long warned against the scattered mind. They understood that true joy arises from undistracted presence. The Japanese concept of ichigo ichi, meaning one time, one meeting, reminds us that each encounter, each moment, is unrepeatable. Your finite attention honors that truth when you bring it fully to bear. Making peace with partiality is essential. You cannot respond to every message with perfect thoughtfulness. You cannot be the fully present parent, partner, colleague, friend, and citizen all at once. Some texts will go unanswered for a time. Some opportunities will pass you by. Some news will remain unknown. This is not failure. It is the natural shape of a mortal life. When you stop fighting this reality, guilt softens. Anxiety quiets. You begin to experience the profound relief of being exactly where you are, doing exactly what you've chosen. In the workplace, this approach transforms how you show up. Instead of reacting to every ping, you batch communications and protect blocks for focused contribution. Your work gains quality. Your reputation shifts from always available to reliably excellent. In relationships, the difference is even more tender. Your partner feels truly seen when your eyes and attention are not divided. Your children remember the times you put everything down to listen to them. These moments of full presence become the memories that matter. There will be setbacks. The intimate interrupter is persistent, shaped by powerful forces in the attention economy. Be patient with yourself. When you notice distraction has won again, smile gently. Return. Each return strengthens the muscle of presence. Over weeks and months, you will find yourself inhabiting your days more deeply. Imagine it. Mornings where your mind feels spacious rather than besieged. Conversations where laughter and listening flow without interruption. Creative work where time seems to dissolve because you are fully inside it. Even ordinary tasks, such as washing dishes, folding laundry, recover their quiet dignity when given your undivided attention. Life does not become easier in every way, but it becomes richer, more real. The watermelon problem cannot be solved by buying a bigger jar. It is solved by choosing which slices of the watermelon truly nourish you and savoring them completely. Your attention is not infinite, and that is what makes it sacred. By protecting it, you are not limiting your life. You are deepening it. Carry this truth with you now. Notice where your attention goes today. Choose, even once, to protect it fiercely for something that matters. Feel the subtle shift. The jar may still be small, but what it holds becomes sweet, substantial, and deeply satisfying. Chapter 6. Beyond Control, Patience, Rest, and Staying on the Bus. Here, we cross a gentle threshold into the second part of our journey together. In the early chapters, we confronted the reality of your 4,000 weeks and began making wiser choices within them. Now, we release the deeper illusion, the fantasy that you can bend the future entirely to your will. Life refuses to be mastered. The weather of circumstance, the pace of growth, the unfolding of relationships, all move according to rhythms larger than your plans. And in letting go of that illusion of total control, you discover a freer, more patient, more restful way to live. You have felt the impatience spiral, I suspect. It begins innocently enough. You want results now. You push harder, optimize more aggressively, fill every gap in your schedule. When progress feels slow, frustration rises. So you push even harder. Technology feeds this spiral beautifully. Instant deliveries, constant connectivity, endless hacks promising to collapse time. Yet, the more you race, the more anxious you become. The anxiety makes you race faster still, until one day you realize you are exhausted, not because you have done too little, but because you have refused to let things take the time they truly need. Patience, then, is not passive weakness. It is a profound form of power. In a world addicted to speed, the ability to wait well, to allow things their proper season, becomes a rare and beautiful strength. It is the quiet confidence that says, I will stay with this. I will give it the time it asks of me. Think of the gardener who plants seeds and does not dig them up every week to check their progress. She waters, she weeds, she trusts the invisible work happening beneath the soil. You are that gardener. Your projects, your relationships, your personal growth, they all have their underground phases. Rushing them produces weak, shallow roots. Patience allows depth. Consider a simple workplace example. You take on a meaningful initiative, a new strategy, a creative proposal, a shift in team culture. The first results are modest. The impatience spiral whispers, scrap it, try something flashier, show quicker wins. But the patient path invites you to stay with it. Tweak gently, observe, adjust. Over months, the small, consistent efforts compound into something solid and lasting. Colleagues who once seemed skeptical begin to come around. Momentum builds not through force, but through faithful presence. The same holds in your relationships. You cannot force intimacy or understanding to arrive on your timeline. Long-married couples often describe a profound mutual knowing that only emerged after years of staying through ordinary days, minor conflicts, and slow seasons of change. You cannot microwave that depth. You can only show up, listen, forgive, and remain. And then there is rest. Not rest as a strategic recharge, so you can return to productivity with greater efficiency. But rest is valuable in its own right. A lazy afternoon with no purpose, a slow walk with no podcast, an evening of music or conversation, or simple staring at the sky. Modern culture struggles with this. It demands you justify downtime by its future benefits. But what if you rested simply because you are a finite human being who deserves to enjoy the gift of being alive? Rediscovering rest requires a tender reframe. You are not a machine whose value lies in output. You are a living soul whose presence in this world is inherently worthwhile. When you rest without guilt, you honor your mortality. You remember that the point of your weeks is not to reach some future state of perfect readiness, but to experience this one life as it is. The next time you feel the urge to fill a free hour with something useful, pause. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to simply be here, without an agenda? Set a gentle timer for 20 minutes. Sit in your chair, lie on the grass, or stand at the window. Let thoughts come and go. Notice the sounds around you. Feel your breath. There is no goal, only presence. Many who practice this begin to notice a subtle joy returning, the joy of existing without constant striving. Cosmic insignificance offers its own strange comfort here. You are one small person on one small planet in a vast universe. Most of your worries, when held against the sweep of time and space, shrink to their proper size. This is not depressing. It is liberating. Your life does not have to be extraordinary in the eyes of the world to be deeply meaningful. The beauty of ordinary life becomes visible when you stop demanding it deliver constant significance. The ordinary coffee with a friend, the quiet satisfaction of a well-made meal, the laughter shared with your children over something silly. These moments do not need to advance a grand narrative. They are the narrative. They are the stuff of your one precious life. This brings us to one of the most beautiful metaphors in our journey, staying on the bus. Imagine a bus leaving the station in Helsinki. All the buses follow the exact same route at first, making the same stops, passing the same ordinary scenery. Many passengers grow impatient. They hop off at the early stations, hoping to find something more distinctive, more exciting. But the passengers who stay on the bus, through the familiar stretches, through the long, predictable miles, eventually reach the point where the routes diverge. Only then does the truly original, beautiful path open up. Your life works like this. The early phases of any worthy endeavor, learning a skill, building a relationship, deepening your work, feel unoriginal. You copy, you practice, you accumulate experience in the same ways others have. The temptation is to jump off, to chase novelty, to start something new when the current path feels slow or uncertain. But the magic happens for those who stay on the bus. Distinctiveness, mastery, and profound satisfaction lie on the far side of that ordinary persistence. You see this in creative lives. The writer who shows up daily to the page, even when the words feel clumsy, eventually finds her voice. The musician who practices scales long after the initial excitement fades, discovers real artistry. In your own ambitions, staying on the bus might mean continuing with that career path even when progress feels incremental, or nurturing that relationship through its quiet seasons, or tending to your health with small daily choices, rather than dramatic overhauls. Of course, this requires patience with uncertainty. You cannot know exactly where the bus will take you, but you can know this. Jumping off prematurely almost always returns you to another familiar station, starting the ordinary phase over again. Staying builds something irreplaceable. There will be days when patience feels hard. The impatience spiral will whisper that you are falling behind, that others are moving faster, that you should force the outcome. In those moments, return to your finitude. Remember the 4,000 weeks. Ask gently, am I willing to let this take the time it needs? Am I willing to trust the process? Small, present-focused actions become your steady companions. You do not need a perfectly controlled future. You only need to bring care and attention to this day. Write the next paragraph. Listen to your partner fully. Take the walk. Cook the meal with presence. These actions, repeated with patience, weave a meaningful existence far more reliably than grand plans ever could. Letting go of total control does not mean giving up on dreams or effort. It means holding them more lightly. It means finding freedom within limits, freedom to rest, freedom to wait, freedom to stay. You discover that a meaningful life is not something you achieve at the end of the journey. It is the journey itself, lived with open hands and a patient heart. The weeks continue their gentle march, but now you walk with them differently, more peacefully, more presently, more powerfully. Cosmic insignificance and ordinary beauty hold hands. Patience and rest become your quiet superpowers. And the bus, your bus, carries you toward landscapes more beautiful than you could have planned. Conclusion: breathe deeply. That number, 4,000, no longer shocks you the way it once did. It has become an old and trusted friend. A gentle reminder that your time is not a problem to solve, but a gift to inhabit. Accepting your finitude has not diminished your life. It has liberated it. This is the heart of everything we've explored. When you stop pretending you can do it all, master every moment, or control the unfolding future, something beautiful opens. You begin to live more fully, more joyfully, and more meaningfully. Remember how we began. The efficiency trap that promised peace through optimization, but only quickened the hamster wheel. The limit-embracing life that taught you the power of deliberate neglect and choosing depth over breadth. Facing finitude with clear eyes, drawing on ancient wisdom and modern courage, so that each day carries the tender weight of being unrepeatable. Becoming a better procrastinator, wisely setting aside the good to protect the essential. Reclaiming your attention from the watermelon problem and the intimate interrupter, learning to be fully where you are. And finally, releasing the illusion of total control, discovering patience, true rest, and the quiet strength of staying on the bus. All these threads weave into one living truth. Your weeks are numbered, and that numbering is what makes them sacred. You no longer scatter yourself across infinite possibilities. You gather yourself into what matters. You trade frantic busyness for chosen presence. You exchange guilt over the undone for gratitude for the done. This is not resignation. It is profound empowerment. You already know the practical path forward. Each morning, name your most important thing and protect it with fierce gentleness. When the notifications pull or the to-do list swells, pause and ask, what am I willing to let wait so that what counts can breathe? Create small sanctuaries of undistracted time, with your partner over coffee, with your children in unhurried play, with your own thoughts on a quiet walk. Practice memento mori in ordinary ways, a quiet breath that says, this day is a gift. How will I meet it? When impatience rises, remember the bus. Stay. Trust the slow, faithful work happening beneath the surface. You will forget sometimes. The old habits will tug. The efficiency trap will whisper its familiar promises. That's all right. You are human. Return gently, without self-judgment. Each return deepens the new pattern. Over time, these choices compound into a life that feels unmistakably yours. You once believed you needed to become superhuman to live well. Now you see that embracing your humanity, that is, your limits, your vulnerabilities, your need for rest and patience, is what makes life rich. The relationships you nurture in the midst of imperfection, the work you offer with focused, imperfect devotion, the quiet evenings where nothing productive happens, and yet everything essential occurs. These are the true measures. In the end, your 4,000 weeks are not a countdown to dread, but an invitation to wonder. The universe is vast and ancient. Your small, brief life within it is astonishing, precisely because it is brief. A shared laugh with someone you love, the satisfaction of bread baked, or a problem solved with care. Sunlight on your face during an ordinary afternoon. The courage to say no, so you can say a deeper yes. These ordinary miracles are enough. More than enough. You do not need a perfectly optimized life. You need a fully inhabited one. And right now, in this moment, you are already living it. The weeks ahead are not waiting for some future, flawless version of you. They are here, ready to be met by the wiser, kinder, more present person you have become through these pages. So, hold your remaining weeks with open hands and a steady heart. Love fiercely in the time you have. Create what calls you. Rest when your soul asks. Stay on the bus when the path feels long. And above all, remember that by accepting the end, you have learned how to truly begin. Thank you for walking this path with me. May your days feel spacious, your choices clear, and your heart at peace with the beautiful limits that make your life possible. You are exactly where you need to be, finite, choosing, and profoundly alive.